I call the September 24th, 2024 City Council special meeting to order. City Clerk Ben Lane, please conduct the roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor David Ortega.
Present.
Vice Mayor Barry Graham.
Present.
Councilmembers Tammy Caputi.
Here.
Tom Durham.
Here.
Betty Janik.
Here.
Kathy Littlefield.
Here.
And Solange Whitehead.
Here.
City Manager Jim Thompson.
Here.
City Attorney Sherry Scott.
Here.
And the clerk is present. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, excellent. We have two items on our special meeting agenda, and they have to do with the board and commission appointments. So I will turn the meeting over to Vice Mayor Graham, who will be chairing this portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. It'd be my honor to chair this portion of the meeting. The Scottsdale City Council is responsible for establishing city policies and enacting laws in support of those policies. The council relies on volunteer citizen-based boards and commissions to research issues and make recommendations in support of the council's mission and agenda. The information and recommendations provided by us from you to us, council-appointed advisory boards, is a valuable tool in helping council members in their deliberations. This afternoon, the City Council will be appointing Scottsdale residents interested in serving on various boards and commissions. We'd like to thank the individuals for their willingness to volunteer their time in service to this community. Following the set of interviews, we will vote on the appointment for the board and commission. So some housekeeping. As I call your name, please approach the podium and briefly cover the following questions: your name, your address, how long you've lived in the city of Scottsdale. Please tell us how your education, employment, and volunteer experience relates to the board and commission. And please share with us the top issue that you believe faces the board and commission. Please limit your time to 2 minutes, which the mayor will enforce. We have a timer by the screen to help you manage your time. And following each nominee's response, I will ask council members and the mayor if they have any follow-up questions for you before taking a vote. We will start with the Board of Adjustments at the top of the alphabet. Board of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial body that hears variance requests, appeals of the zoning administrator's interpretations and decisions, and decides on administrative decisions or zoning requirements, which create unnecessary hardships in the development of property because of exceptional or extraordinary conditions. There is one vacancy and 2 nominees. The nominees tonight are Paul Gary, who I understand is unavailable to join us, but he is interested in serving on the board. He remains unavailable, okay. And I will call up Mr. Jay Leopold. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, and council members. My name is Jay Leopold, and I live at 16580 North 105th Street, which is McDowell Mountain Ranch. And I have been a resident of Scottsdale for 18 years when I moved to start my first solar company from Chicago, because you can't run a solar company in Chicago. I have served on the Board of Adjustments during the COVID years, and I'm available to you if you need me. I have experience, and I am happy to help.
Thank you, Mr. Leopold. I will now ask my colleagues if there are any questions. Well, seeing none, thank you. And I will invite Rommel Cordova to help us track our votes. I will start with, to the far end, Councilmember Caputi.
Paul Gary, please.
Jay Leopold. Paul Gary.
Paul Gary.
Paul Gary.
Paul Gary.
If someone gets a majority, do we need to keep voting, Rommel?
If you can, Vice Mayor, please, for our record.
Okay. Mr. Gary.
Thank you.
Building Advisory Board of Appeals. Building Advisory Board of Appeals has the jurisdiction to recommend that minor variances in electrical, plumbing, and mechanical application of the building code be granted, and that alternative construction methods and materials be allowed. With 2 vacancies and 3 nominees, the nominees are Mr. Chad Bennett, Mr. Frederick Detman, and Mr. Michael Kravitz. Mr. Michael Kravitz's term is expired in September, and he is eligible for reappointment. And he will be participating in today's meeting electronically. Again, there are 2 vacancies and 3 nominees. I will invite Mr. Chad Bennett to the podium.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Chad Bennett. I live at 8626 East Sells Drive. I am a resident working on a year now. I've been in the Phoenix Valley for 12 years. I have sat on the Building Board of Adjustment, the Building Board of Appeals, and the Planning and Zoning Board of Bullhead City. I've also taken their Master Government course some time ago before I moved out here to Phoenix. I'm currently a general contractor, a landscape contractor. I hold 2 different licenses. And the reason I want to join the board is there is definitely a stigma in the construction world about working with 2 municipalities. City of Scottsdale is one of them, and Maricopa County is the other. And I want to try to bridge that gap. There is a lot of different parts of different organizations and building affiliations that I have that it's constantly like have to deal with the city of Scottsdale. And I think if we can, I think there's a lot of homeowners that don't want to get building permits, that don't want to go through things. And I've even heard contractors talk about it. So I think it's important to try to bridge that gap and see kind of how this committee works and what this committee does, and maybe making recommendations for how we can bridge that gap from the building officials, the building department, to getting permits and things like that.
Any questions for Mr. Bennett?
Yes. Mr. Bennett, I think you said you've been in Scottsdale 1 year,
Close to 10 months.
and then I think I heard you said you had been in Phoenix 12 years,
Yes,
and that was after Bullhead City.
yes.
Okay. So during those 12 years when you were in Phoenix, have you done much work in Scottsdale?
Yeah, we do quite a, we serve the whole valley, both my general contracting company and my landscape construction company, yes. And I've had a firsthand experience with the permitting process with the city of Scottsdale. So I know firsthand what some of the difficulties are on the homeowner side of things.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for Mr. Bennett? Seeing none, thank you.
Okay.
I will
thank
invite
you.
Mr. Detman up. Mr. Frederick Detman appears not to be here. And so with that, we will move to Mr. Kravitz. I understand electronically participating.
Yes, I'm here.
Very good. Please, you have 2 minutes, and please begin.
Sure. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council members. I am Michael Kravitz. I've been serving on the Board of Appeals now for the past 3 years. The last 2 years as the vice chairman. I have enjoyed the honor and privilege of serving. And the main issue that has come before us over the past 2 years has been the revisions to the building code upgrades, working with the various builders and homeowners and the public to get their opinions and feelings on the new code revisions, so on and so forth. I've been a licensed architect for approximately 45 years. I practice currently out of my home in True North at 10430 East Skinner Drive. Currently have projects in Paradise Valley, Scottsdale, Mesa, Gilbert, and Tempe in various phases. It's been an honor and a privilege to work with Michael Clack and the other members of the board, and it's been an amazing experience, and I've really enjoyed giving back to the city of Scottsdale as an architect. you have any questions, maybe I forgot something. Oh, and I'm coming to you live from the mountains of Colorado, so I do appreciate you allowing me to call in remotely.
Well, very good. Thank you, Mr. Kravitz. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you for speaking. And with that, we will
Thank you very much.
turn it to Rommel to take our vote. I'll start with Councilmember Janik.
Thank you. Chad Bennett and Michael Kravitz.
No additional?
Councilwoman Littlefield, if we-
You have to do it? Okay. Chad Bennett and Michael Kravitz.
Mr. Kravitz and Mr. Bennett.
Mr. Bennett, Mr. Kravitz.
Mr. Kravitz and Mr. Bennett.
Same two? Can I say that?
No, they wouldn't let me.
Okay. Kravitz and Bennett.
Chad Bennett, Michael Kravitz.
Congratulations, Mr. Bennett, and congratulations again for a second term to Mr. Kravitz. Moving on to Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, we have one opening. This committee receives reports on the city's progress in implementing the bond program, reviewing any proposed project changes, and providing commentary to the City Council with respect to bond program as the committee deems appropriate. There is one vacancy and two nominees. Britta McKee has withdrawn her application from consideration. Nominees are April Holland, who is participating today electronically, and Scott Sandell, who we will ask to remain ready. We can start with Ms. Holland, if we can bring her up electronically. Hi, Ms. Holland, you have 2 minutes. Please begin.
I moved to Arizona in 1991, and I've been a resident, volunteering for and serving. I'm a subject matter expert for municipal operations set up.
Ms. Holland, sorry to interrupt you, but we're losing a little bit of connectivity. If you could make sure your microphone and connection are stable. I'm not sure how much you can do, but we want to be able to hear everything you say.
Okay, can you hear me a little bit better?
Yes.
I don't know what you might have changed something, but that came in loud and clear. Please.
Okay, so yeah, I have a lot of experience with operations and
Really? Ms. Holland, there still seems to be some interruption in your connection, and the mayor is suggesting that perhaps you could preserve some of your bandwidth by turning off your video to isolate your connection to your sound. Is that what you meant?
Okay.
As simply troubleshooting, an attempt.
Okay, so is this better?
Yes.
So far.
Okay, so in addition to my knowledge that's specific to me, I have 30 experience in the financial fields that includes management, retirement, for ultra high net worth, real estate, and pension operations, budget plan, project.
Ms. Holland, there
Yes.
continues to be disruption with the connection. So I think what we're going to do is, I spoke to the city clerk. We're gonna end the connection, and if she can call back, okay, they'll call you back to reestablish the connection. And I think we'll just take a moment. I'll invite Scott Sandell, if he is here, Mr. Sandell. So what I'm going to ask, what I've been told to ask you is to hang up, and we will call you back to reestablish the connection to hopefully one that's more, that's a stronger connection. And it appears that Mr. Sandell is not with us today.
Vice Mayor, if you'd like, we can just pause that appointment momentarily, and we can go to the Historic Preservation
Okay,
Commission
okay.
and then come back to it.
Okay. Rommel Cordova is telling me to go to the Historic Preservation Commission next for one nominee, one applicant. Historic Preservation oversees the development and management of the city's historic preservation program. One vacancy, one nominee, Ms. Rose Smith, whose term expired, is eligible for reappointment. She's unable to join us today, but she is interested in serving. So let's go ahead and vote on this Preservation Commission. I'll start with Councilmember, Mayor, did you have a comment?
No, that's fine.
I'll start with Councilmember Littlefield.
Thank you. I'll vote for Rose Smith.
Rose Smith?
Rose Smith.
Rose Smith.
Ms. Smith?
Rose Smith.
Rose Smith.
Congratulations, Mr. Smith. Ms. Smith. And now I'm going to see if I should go back to bonds or if I should move on. Keep going? Okay.
Yeah.
I will forge ahead to Human Relations Commission, one opening. Human Relations Commission advocates and promotes all dimensions of diversity. The commission acts as an advisory body to the mayor, city council, and staff to make recommendations on ways to encourage mutual respect and understanding among people, to discourage prejudice and discrimination, and to work towards cultural awareness and unity. There's one vacancy and two nominees. Nominees are as follows: Jeannie McKenna, who is unable to join us, but she is still interested on serving the commissions, and Mr. James Somerville, depending on how you might pronounce that. I hope you correct me, Mr. Somerville. Please, when you reach the podium, please state your name, and you have 2 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Jim Somerville. Only my father called me James, and only when I was in big trouble. I live at 19475 North Greyhawk Drive. That's in the Greyhawk subdivision, the Tesoro part of that. I became a part-time resident in 2003 when my wife and I visited Scottsdale for the first time, and at the end of the first day of shopping, she came home and informed me that we had just bought a condominium. We lived 21 years as a part-time resident, and then in 2010, we moved down from Steamboat Springs, Colorado, much the same weather as this, 30 feet of snow in the winter, and we became full-time Scottsdale residents. How am I qualified? After 20 years of broad range HR leadership roles in companies like Michelin, Whirlpool, Kellogg's, A.T. Kearney, and Spencer Stewart. I retired, but that lasted exactly 4 days. I formed my own consulting firm, which has been very successful for the last 21 years. I have about 125 clients, and I'm proud to say all of them came as a result of referrals. I've never done any advertising. All of the work that I do with them is in the area of human resources, and most of the projects are very similar to what the Human Relations Commission and the relationship it would have with the HR people in the city of Scottsdale. I also have served as a CEO, a chairman, president, COO of several public and private companies, both here in the United States and in Europe. How do I believe my contributions and my experience would help the commission? I know how organizations run well, and that's the objective of doing exactly what I've been doing with all of my clients for the last almost 60 years. My particular strengths are relating to selecting.
Mr. Somerville, your time has expired. If you could just wrap up
Okay.
your comments. Okay, thank you.
I know what needs to be done.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Somerville? Oh, Councilmember.
Could you just answer the last question? I actually would like to hear your thoughts on the top issue facing the board, commission.
I couldn't understand.
Oh, sorry. What do you think the top issue is facing our commission?
I think the top issue is identifying with the staff members in the city, in human resources, and in operations, what their goals are, and making sure that that DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which have started out a year ago, 2 years ago, as great things, and are now being dumped by a lot of companies, are not taken to the extreme, and that we identify in all of our activities the 11 other categories other than color of skin, sexual preference, 11 other categories, and how they can benefit the city.
Thank you. I will, thank you, Mr. Somerville. I will now entertain a vote. I'll start with the mayor.
Sure. So, Human Services Advisory Commission. Lee Cool, sorry.
Mayor, actually, this is for Human Relations Commission, sir.
Oh, okay. I was looking ahead. Okay. Yes. Mr. Jim Somerville.
Jeannie McKenna?
Mr. Somerville.
Ms. McKenna.
James Somerville?
James Somerville.
Jeannie McKenna.
Congratulations, Mr. Somerville. Jim. Thank you. Ready to go back? We will now return back to our previous programming. Bond Oversight Commission. We were speaking with April Holland. We're bringing her back in, and she's got only 45 seconds left. I was kidding. April, if you can hear us, please begin your 2 minutes.
Okay, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but every time you say that, then it falls off right immediately after. So our fingers are crossed.
I'll make it quick then. So I have an extensive amount of experience working as a corporate trust officer, specifically for municipal bonds. So volunteering and serving on this committee is of great interest to me. I, in addition to my experience with municipal bonds, I have over 30 years of experience in the financial service field that includes investment management, retirement planning, wealth management for ultra-high net worth portfolios, trust estate settlement, and pension operations. I'm skilled in corporate budget planning, project management that includes software enhancements for large financial institutions. I feel confident that I can provide solutions to any bond-related challenges that the city of Scottsdale could encounter. And I work exceptionally well on team projects. In closing, I'd like to thank you for considering me for this opportunity to serve my community.
Thank you very much, Ms. Holland. I will ask my colleagues, invite to ask questions. I see none, and so we will entertain a vote for this commission. I will start with Councilmember Whitehead.
April Holland?
April Holland.
Ms. Holland.
April Holland?
April Holland.
April Holland.
April Holland.
Congratulations, Ms. Holland. I'm glad we got the connection reestablished. I got a better connection, and thank you for applying to serve.
Thank you.
Moving on now to the mayor's favorite commission, perhaps.
Okay.
Human Services Advisory Commission. Human Services Advisory Commission provides advisory recommendations to staff and City Council on human services priorities and programs, and funding allocations for Scottsdale Cares, Community Development Block Grants, Home, Human Services, Emergency, and General Funds. There are 3 vacancies. We have 5 nominees. Nominees are Mr. Lee Cooley, Mr. Ralph de Costa Nunez, who will be participating electronically, Pamela Hollows, Jeff Jameson, whose term expired and is eligible for reappointment, and Mr. Neil Scherer, who's in the same situation. His term expired and he's eligible for reappointment. Mr. Lee Cooley, please, I invite you to come up, and you have 2 minutes. You can please begin.
Thank you. My name is Lee Cooley. I live at 10142 East Flourier Drive. I've been a resident for 18 years. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, distinguished members of council, I came here 18 years ago to start the nonprofit phase of my career. First at Make-A-Wish America, then Valley Youth Theater, and then Arizona Realtors Association and Scottsdale Realtors Association. They're both 501c6 nonprofits, so I still met my criteria. Since I've been at the Scottsdale Realtors Association for the past almost 6 years, we've done a lot of collaboration with the city. As a staff liaison for the Housing Opportunities Committee, we've been involved with, I think we've had 3 different fair housing symposiums. We've hosted 3 of the housing partner programs with the city's housing and community assistance department to try to get more realtors involved. As a matter of fact, they had a great landlord connection meeting just last week. There were 15 landlords that attended, and I think 5 were new, so hopefully that will continue to escalate as we get toward the SAFMR. Small area fair market rate's going to come out here in the next few months. You'll hear that, and I think you'll be impressed. Also working with the Human Services Strategic Planning Committee. Kira and her team will have some reports on that in first quarter of next year. What else can I say? Oh, well, we've had a couple of events some of you have been at. Matter of fact, last year we had one Path to Housing event on cross-modular housing. This year, in May, it was one on affordable, ADUs and missing middle housing, which sort of set the stage before we got to HB 27, 20, and 21 going into law, so hopefully it was a bit of a help. My goal is to help educate and participate. I think one of the biggest challenges we have as our constituents here grow older is senior services. We've got a lot of opportunities to expand that, and I look forward to helping with your vote. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Cooley? Thank you, Mr. Cooley. I was actually able to attend the Middle Housing Symposium, inviting Ralph de Costa Nunez, who is participating electronically. Hopefully we get a sturdy connection with Mr. de Costa Nunez.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. Please begin. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, I'm Ralph DeCosta Nunez. I'm at 12702 North 128th Place in Scottsdale. I've had a home here for 20 years, and I've been living here permanently for the last. I've spent the last 45 years of my career in public service. I have great interest in that area. I've run New York City agencies dealing with human services throughout the 5 boroughs. I've also run nonprofits throughout the city of New York dealing with the same thing, human services. And I've been on a number of foundation boards and commissions dealing with these issues. In addition, I've been a professor of public policy at Columbia University's Graduate School of International Public Affairs, and I've written a number of books and numerous articles on human services and social service issues. What I find most interesting and most important for this commission, and what interests me, is the phenomenal growth of Scottsdale from all the period that I've been here and since I've been living here permanently. And with that growth, what I see for this commission is an enormous set of new demands coming across the table eventually, if not already. The infrastructure will probably be challenged. There has to be quality provision of services and new needs. So my interest lies, and my interest in this board is simply based on my dedication to public service, and I think I bring some experience that might be useful. And that's it.
Any questions for Mr. de Costa Nunez? Seeing none, thank you for your time in presenting to us.
Thank you.
Inviting Pamela Hallows. Please correct my pronunciation. if needed, and when you get to the podium, you have 2 minutes. Please begin.
Good afternoon.
Feel free to adjust the microphone. You can just...
I am sure. I had to point that out. Hi. Good afternoon, Mayor Ortega and Vice Mayor Graham, and City Council women and men. I'm happy to be here today. A little nervous, but other than that, I've lived in, I now call this my new state, Arizona. I've lived in Scottsdale, Arizona now for 37 years, and I'm just going to tell you candidly, I love Scottsdale, and I'm grateful to be here. We have so many social programs that we provide. One of the areas, and I live at 7002, I just moved, East Hubble Street. And I am a graduate, proudly, of Scottsdale Community College. You may have read about me, it's never too late. And now I'm over at ASU driving Mr. Crow crazy. So the word mitzvot comes to mind when you want me to tell you all the different things I've volunteered for and done, because a mitzvot is a deed for the doing of the deed, not the recognition. So I feel uncomfortable telling you all the things that I've done, and I say this humbly. I've been a volunteer and a teacher at Botanical Garden, docent at the Phoenix Art Museum. I brought the first International Nanny Association conference here to Arizona in 1995. I've written 2 bills to be passed for the regulation of private and-home care, i.e. nannies, and was on the board. I volunteered always at the schools in teaching art masterpiece for 3rd through 7th graders. I know all the social workers here because that's what I'm getting my degree in, and they're waiting for me. And so I love to help people, and I believe that I can't speak for all of the city council, but I believe part of our concerns are for the homeless, at least it is for me. And I know about the program you had, I can't remember the name of it, but it was wonderful, where you were able to take the homeless people and put them into 10 different rooms at a hotel or a motel. But it isn't a blight on Scottsdale to have homeless people. It's a blight on the people of Scottsdale if we don't help each other, because that's all we're put here for, is to help each other. So thank you for listening to me, and I'll see you again.
Thank you, Ms. Hallows. Any questions for Ms. Hallows? Seeing none, I'll move on to Mr. Jeff Jameson. Mr. Jeff Jameson, his term expired, and he is eligible for reappointment. Thank you, Mr. Jameson. When you get to the podium, you may begin. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Ortega and council members. My name is Thomas Jefferson Jameson III, but you can call me Jeff. I'm an 18-year resident of Scottsdale, and I live at 9063 East Astor Drive. Since moving here, I've been impressed with Scottsdale because of the many services the city provides, particularly for those in need. Because of this, I've continuously been involved with maintaining our quality of life through my many professional and volunteer activities. I believe I'm very well qualified to continue my service on the Human Services Advisory Commission for a number of reasons. First, I've contributed well to the commission and have attended many events and constantly championing the work that our Human Services Department does. I also served on the Human Relations Commission for 6 years. 3 of those years I was a chairman. And I belong to Scottsdale Blue Zones, an organization I believe that works in the best interest of all of our residents to live long and healthy lives. I'm a leader at my church's outreach efforts, where we provide aid to the hungry, the homeless, indigent, Native American neighbors, and many more. And lastly, most of my professional career has been spent in the nonprofit executive arena in agencies serving homeless, hungry, troubled youth, elders, differently abled, and other marginalized communities. I've been asked to speak about the top issues facing our commission this evening. It's hard to rank the issues that we have in the city, but toward that I'll mention 2. First is funding. The amount of money available to provide direct city services and to fund our nonprofit partners is below the demand for assistance. I ask council to make a very strong case to taxpayers that more is needed. And then the other one is homelessness. The current housing crisis for unhoused neighbors is not getting any better. I believe the city must make this a priority and create a more attainable housing for working class people and by working with developers, neighborhoods to build more sustainable housing stock. Thank you for the opportunity to serve the cities these past 3 years. I hope to continue my service to the Human Services Advisory Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jameson III. Any questions? Seeing none, appreciate your presentation. Inviting Neil Scher to the podium. 2 minutes to present. Please begin.
Hello, Your Honor, and members of the council. I'm Neil Scher. I have proudly called Scottsdale home for 44 years. I currently live at 14131 North 90th Place. My professional life has been dedicated to public service. I received my master's in public administration from the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University, and I have served 42 years in various community management positions, including 32 years with the city of Scottsdale in some very adventurous jobs. I served as executive assistant to Mayor Herb Drinkwater. I was assistant to the city manager for intergovernmental relations. I was the human services director. I was the human resources general manager, and I was assistant city manager. As human services director in the mid-1990s, we had community and council support to build and open the Via Linda Senior Center, the Paiute Neighborhood Center, and created the Scottsdale Cares donation program. And I'm also pleased to let you know that the commission is working with staff to bring back a recommendation later this fiscal year to increase the marketing and donations for Scottsdale Cares. As chair of the Human Services Commission and Scottsdale Housing Advisory Board for the last 2 years, I've encouraged open and constructive dialogue, and I'm really pleased that our recommendations have been well received by the City Council. As to the top issue facing the Commission, we all know that these issues are interrelated. Whether you have financial hardships, you have food and housing insecurities, social isolation, loneliness, transportation gaps, health issues. So we don't have sufficient funding, which we did, to address all these issues. So the most important issue that we face is how best to leverage limited resources and partnerships to address priority needs in a cohesive and comprehensive way. I'm proud of the work that we've done on the Human Services Commission and Housing Agency Governing Board during my term, and I'd like to continue working on these important issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scher. Any questions from the council? Seeing none, we thank the applicants for presenting, and I will invite Rommel to entertain votes for the Human Services Advisory Commission, starting with Council Member, I think I'm at Durham, Councilmember Durham.
Yes. Jeff Jameson, Neil Scher, and Mr. DaCosta Nunez.
I will vote for Mr. DaCosta Nunez, Ms. Hollows, and Mr. Jameson.
Lee Cooley, Jeff Jameson, Neil Scher.
Lee Cooley, Jeff Jameson, Neil Scher, and I would encourage the other candidates to apply again. You are all wonderful candidates that would benefit the city. Thank you.
Pamela Hollows, Jeff Jameson, Neil Scher.
Lee Cooley, Jeff Jameson, Neil Scher.
Lee Cooley, Jeff Jameson, and Neil Scher, and I concur with Councilwoman Janik.
Well, I thank my colleagues for voting, and we have appointed Mr. Cooley, Mr. Jameson. Mr. Cooley has been appointed, and Mr. Jameson and Mr. Scher have been reappointed. We thank everybody for their applications and for presenting. Judicial Appointments Advisory Board. Judicial Appointments Advisory Board makes advisory recommendations to City Council regarding the appointment and reappointment of full-time city judges. With special qualifications, the 7-member JAB will consist of 2 active judges, 1 representative from both the State Bar and Scottsdale Bar Associations, and 3 citizens appointed by City Council who are not judges in any official capacity, nor retired judges, nor members of the State Bar. There are 2 citizen representative vacancies and 1 Scottsdale Bar representative vacancy. We will begin this afternoon's appointment to the JAB with the citizen representative appointments. For the 2 citizen representative vacancies, there are 3 nominees. Aurea Flores has withdrawn her application, and the remaining nominees are Carol Ann Petrin, who I will invite to speak first, Norman Spizak, and Helen Weizenkorn. I see Carol Ann Petrin approaching the podium, and you are invited to begin. You have 2 minutes, and please begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, and members of the council. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you. My name is Carol Petrin. I live at 10053 East Relic Rock Road in Scottsdale. I have been a part-time resident of Scottsdale for over 20 years and a full-time resident for the last 11 or 12 years. So why my interest in on this particular board? Number one, during my entire legal career, I have always found time and thought it was extremely important to serve on nonprofit boards and give back. I've been involved in bringing clean water to South Africa, working with young lawyers who have spent their time representing the needy on health issues, housing issues, and emergency issues like in Katrina. And I also have been involved in the National Foundation of Lupus Foundation that has provided national help in terms of education and services for those with lupus challenges. I have been a lawyer for over 40 years. I like to say 50, but it sounds too old for me, but I say slightly over 40. I started off as a state and federal prosecutor, was a trial lawyer for many, many years, and then was a corporate counsel. I'm interested in serving on this commission because through my career, I've had many opportunities to appear before many courts across the country on several levels. And I have come to recognize the importance of competency, the importance of fairness, the importance of judicial temperament, and the importance of performance. So I commit to you that if I were to be selected as a committee member, I would look in evaluating and recommending judges who have those particular qualifications. The citizens of Scottsdale are entitled and expect good quality legal service, and I believe I could add value to that particular board in delivering those services. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Petrin, and I will invite colleagues to pose any questions. Seeing none, I will invite Norman Spizak to the podium to share your thoughts with us for 2 minutes. And you may begin when you're ready, sir.
All right, first and foremost, thanks for having me here. Really appreciate it. My name is Dr. Norman Spizak. I live at 34288 North 86th Place in Scottsdale, Arizona. I've been here since 2001 when I retired from the state of Michigan. In the state of Michigan, I was a chief officer in the state for 14 years. After that, I was the court administrator for the last 7, and I retired from there. Just after my retirement from the state of Michigan, I taught at ASU. Just after my retirement, I taught as a Merit Honors professor at ASU, taught law, criminology, and my major is criminology, and I'm a criminal psychologist. That's my actual degree in. I've enjoyed working with judges over the years. I used to evaluate criminals as the chief officer. Used to advise judges every day. I'd be to court every day. As administrator, I oversaw one of the largest districts in the state of Michigan, and I really enjoyed that. I was able to interact with a number of judges at various levels. I did some writing for the Michigan Supreme Court with the Chief Judge Manual. I was a contributing editor and writer. I've been on past boards in the state of Michigan, St. Joseph's Hospitals in Mount Clemens, Michigan. I was also on an advisory board for the Self-Attached Air National Guard Base. Now I do charity work. My wife is here with me. She runs a number of charities I assist her with. And God's been good to me, and I want to give back. Again, I thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Mr. Spizak. Apologies for the name mispronunciation. I'll invite my colleagues to pose any questions. Seeing none, I will thank you again for your presentation. I will invite the final remaining applicant for this portion of the board, Ms. Helen Weizenkorn. Thank you, Helen. You'll have 2 minutes, and please feel free to begin when you're ready.
Hi, I'm Helene Weizenkorn.
Helene, thank you.
That's all right. I live at 7739 East Bisbee Road in McCormick Ranch. I moved to Scottsdale from Boston, Massachusetts in April 2020. I love living in Scottsdale and want to give back to the community. The Judicial Appointments Advisory Board is of interest to me. I believe the most important issue facing the board is the selection of judicial candidates that are fair, open-minded, representative of our city, and able to make judgments in the best interests of Scottsdale, not influenced by outside interests. I also believe our judicial system should be well-run and efficient. I do not have a formal legal education. Professionally, I worked in purchasing for a Fortune 500 company, and with a corporate attorney, negotiated corporate-wide contracts for many goods and services. I ask for your support for my nomination to this board. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Weizenkorn. I'll ask my colleagues if they want to pose any questions. Seeing none, I'll invite Mr. Cordova to take the tally, and I think we'll begin this time with myself. And if you're ready, I will tender votes for Ms. Petrin and Mr. Spizak, and we'll move on to Councilmember Kabuti.
Carol Ann Petrin, Helene Weizenkorn.
Carol Ann Petrin, Helene Weizenkorn.
Carol Ann Petrin, Norman Spicek.
Carol Ann Petrin and Helene.
Carol Ann Petrin and Helene Weizenkorn.
Carol Ann Petrin and Mr. Spizak.
Well, thank you and congratulations to Carol Ann Petrin and Ms. Weizenkorn. And I think these are both 2 new appointees, so no reappointments. Thank you again for everyone for applying, and congratulations. And as a reminder, this is for the citizen representative vacancies, of which there are 2 for the Judicial Appointments Advisory Board. And we will move on to the Scottsdale Bar Rep portion of the same board. This member is a representative of the Scottsdale Bar Association. The City Council appoints them based on names submitted to the council by the president of the Scottsdale Bar Association. This section should go quickly because we have 1 nominee and 1 opening. And the nominee, Mr. John Gilbert, who's not here, has completed his first term and eligible for reappointment. And you need us to vote, right? That's correct. So I'll start with Councilmember Caputi.
John Gilbert.
John Gilbert.
John Gilbert.
John Gilbert.
John Gilbert.
John Gilbert.
John Gilbert. Thank you and congratulations, Mr. Gilbert, on your reappointment. Moving to Tourism Development Commission, 1 opening, 1 industry rep opening with two nominees. Tourism Development Commission advises the City Council on matters concerning the expenditure of revenues from the transaction privilege tax on transient lodgings, colloquially known as bed tax, designated for tourism development. Special qualifications are required for the position. The Tourism Development Commission shall consist of a representative of the tourism industry in Scottsdale, including a minimum of 4 Scottsdale hoteliers, 1 member of the Scottsdale's Convention and Visitors Bureau, or Experience Scottsdale, and a balance from elements of the tourism industry. There is 1 Scottsdale industry representative position vacancy and 2 nominees. Joanne Hilt has withdrawn her application from consideration. Today's nominees are Mr. Chris Montgomery and Mr. Darian Nguyen. Mr. Chris Montgomery's appointment is expired. He is eligible for reappointment. He's unable to join us this afternoon. He is interested in serving another term on the commission. And I will invite Darian Nguyen, who will be participating electronically. So, Darian, if you can hear me and you are ready to go, you can begin your, you have 2 minutes, and you can begin when you're ready.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Darian Nguyen. I live at 24344 North 75th Way. I've been a resident of Scottsdale for over 20 years. Currently, I work in the ed tech industry where I develop innovative educational solutions that empower students and educators. Beyond my career, I'm a professional chess player and have been deeply involved in the scholastic chess community for many years. Over the past several years, I have successfully organized 2 annual scholastic chess tournaments in Scottsdale. Each of these events attract over 200 participants and generated over $15,000 in revenue. These events have not only boosted the local economy, but also aligned with Scottsdale's tourism strategy to increase year-round events that drive cultural and educational tourism. As a chess professional, I have developed strong connections in many different scholastic communities around the United States. This enables me to promote Scottsdale as a destination for year-round festivals, camps, and educational events, which can attract visitors nationwide and support the local economy. The most significant issue facing the Scottsdale Tourism Board is the lack of young people entering the tourism industry. My approach to addressing this would be to create initiatives that make tourism jobs more accessible and appealing to college students.
Well, very good. Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. And I'll ask my colleagues if they want to pose any questions. And thank you for joining us and presenting today. I will call. Thank you. Ramo Cordova will entertain the vote. I think we're starting with Councilmember Janik on this particular one.
Thank you. Darian Nguyen.
Chris Montgomery.
Darian Nguyen.
Chris Montgomery.
Mr. Montgomery.
Mr. Montgomery.
Chris Montgomery.
Congratulations, Mr. Montgomery has been reappointed. I want to thank all of the applicants. And congratulations. I think we are on our last and final commission appointment for the day. I might get us through this in just under an hour. We'll see. Transportation Commission. Transportation Commission is always last. Transportation Commission advises the City Council on matters relating to the safe and efficient movement of vehicles, transit, pedestrians, and bicycles. This commission provides a public forum to hear citizen complaints and requests regarding transportation matters. There are 2 vacancies and 2 nominees. Darren Wolf withdrew his application from consideration, and the nominees are as follows: Kyle Davis and Carrie Wilcoxon. Mr. Wilcoxon's term expired in September and is eligible for reappointment. Do we have Kyle Davis here? Welcome. Please approach the podium, and when you're ready to begin, you have 2 minutes.
All right, thank you, Vice Mayor Graham, Mayor Ortega, and City Council members. My name is Kyle Davis. I live at 8607 East Villa de Serena, which is in the McCormick Ranch area. I've been a Scottsdale resident now for 14 years, 5 of which were in the southern part of the city, and then the remainder which in the central part where I am now. For the past 6 years, I've had the pleasure of serving at your behalf on the Paths and Trails Subcommittee to the Transportation Commission. I've really enjoyed my time in that subcommittee, and during my tenure, I was very happy to see us awarded gold status by the League of American Bicyclists twice, as well as the execution of a variety of projects that have helped improve our overall active transportation infrastructure. Most recently, I'm really excited to see the progress we've made on the underpass at Chaparral on the east side of Indian Bend Wash. I'll be terming out in November, and I'm very interested in continuing my service for the betterment of the city. Travel by car is the #1 way that the majority of our citizens use our transportation network, and I would like to support the evolution and improvements of our streets, in addition to having oversight of transit, as well as continued support of paths and trails. My experience serving on the subcommittee has put me in a position to immediately contribute as a member of the Transportation Commission. I have experience in helping to draft the bikeway and trails element of the Transportation Action Plan, and I'm up to date on the major decisions facing the current commission. Professionally, I have a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering and currently work in the aerospace industry. I think that engineering background really helps me kind of understand the why that goes behind some of the decisions that are made in transportation. Well, I think there are a variety of issues that are facing the commission, a few of which could probably consider the top. I think that cost and right-of-way constraints that we see for infrastructure projects in the southern and central parts of the city are a bit large concern. We have certain roads such as Shea or Indian Bend, Indian School, which consistently rank as some of our most congested streets. But there are cost and right-of-way limitations to widen them. So I'm very interested to know what kind of short-term and long-term plans we could have that could help improve those issues while minimizing cost and impact to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Any questions for Mr. Davis and my colleagues? Seeing none, thank you. I will invite Kerry Wilcoxon to the podium. Again, Mr. Wilcoxon's term expired in September, and he's eligible for reappointment. Thank you for your service, and you have 2 minutes. When you're ready, please begin.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and members of the council. I'm Kerry Wilcoxon. I live at 6034 East Edgemont Avenue, just south of Thomas in Old Town or southern Scottsdale. I am a 28-year resident of Scottsdale. I'm also an employee of ADOT and formerly the City of Phoenix. My current role at ADOT is I serve as the state traffic engineer, helping design the roadways, freeways, and trails within the state right-of-way. Prior to my current role, I was the state traffic safety engineer, where I made sure that while we design those roads, they remain safe for everybody using them. When I worked for the City of Phoenix, I was a city traffic safety engineer and spent a lot of time doing a lot of the same issues. I've been on the commission for 3 years now, and I've really enjoyed my time, maybe not for the reasons that most people think. I am a traffic geek, and I am proud of that, but I know that traffic does not exist in a vacuum. Everyone who has a driver's license believes they can do my job at the state better than I can, and some days I don't doubt that. But I do know that it's important to recognize that no matter how technical traffic is or can be, there's also a human side of it. Traffic needs to be both efficient and safe, but it needs to meet the needs of the people who are living in the city. And my role on the commission is to make sure that my technical expertise, my experience living in the city, can be brought to bear to help navigate the city through there. The most important aspect, or the most top aspect of the facing the commission, is how to manage growth within the city and make sure that as we grow, we recognize we're not a homogeneous city, and there are going to be different solutions for different parts of the city and for different road users. I thank you for your consideration, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wilcoxon. Mr. Mayor,
Sure.
the mayor has a question for you. Thank you.
Thank you for presenting. I went to one of the meetings where ADOT presented, and they came forward with their engineering team and outlined where all of the off-ramp slivers of land and how those improvements would affect marching forward with what we see today, the construction of the State 101 and that influence. You were listening to that, and obviously the state kind of reported to us. They made the acquisitions, and did you ever get any blowback from citizens about whether or not the Transportation Commission had done a good job on the state's decision in their domain?
Mayor, I have not received any blowback one way or the other, positive or negative, but I do remember that presentation, and I think it's an important project. But again, I want to make sure that when it goes through, the best knowledge that ADOT has accumulated over the many years of building freeways is brought to bear on our interchanges.
Sure, and for instance, the Pima Road off-ramp and how that interfaced, and the Frank Lloyd Wright exchange, where it looks like they're facing each other, but then they turn in opposite directions. I think, again, that's underway. We'll see some more results as they complete their project. Thank you for your patience.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions from the council members? Yeah, I got a kick out of your comment about everybody is an expert, you know. It's like when I'm driving. Anybody who drives faster than me is crazy. Anybody who drives slower is an idiot, right?
I've been in a car with the same comments.
I will now entertain, thank you, Mr. Wilcoxon. I will now entertain a vote for the Transportation Commission. I think we're at Council Member Littlefield. I don't think this is going to be very difficult. I think you got to pick two.
I got to pick two?
Correct.
Okay. Kyle Davis and Carrie Wilcoxon.
Kyle Davis, Carrie Wilkinson.
Kyle Davis and Carrie Wilcoxon.
Kyle Davis and Carrie Wilcoxon.
Mr. Davis and Mr. Wilcoxon.
Kyle Davis, Carrie Wilcoxon.
Kyle Davis, Carrie Wilcoxon.
Well, thank you, Mr. Davis, or congratulations, Mr. Davis, and congratulations for your reappointment, Mr. Wilcoxon. And we always appreciate everyone for applying. And so that finishes this segment of it. I've got to go now to the next part of this agenda, which is the affirmation of Mayor Ortega's proposed appointment to the Public Safety Personnel Retirement Systems Boards. There is one opening pursuant to ARS 38847, the Public Safety Personnel Retirement System Boards. Police, local, and fire local are responsible for deciding all questions of eligibility and service credits and determines the amount, manner, and timing of payment of any benefits under the Public Safety Personnel Retirement System. Mr. Ortega, or Mayor Ortega, has submitted the proposed appointment of Susan Galpin-Tyree to serve on the Public Safety Personnel Retirement Boards for a 4-year term. Ms. Galpin-Tyree has been a resident of Scottsdale for 16 years and holds a master's degree in legal studies. She has previously served on the Human Relations Commission and this month completed a second term on the Judicial Appointments Advisory Board. The mayor's appointment of Susan Galpin-Tyree requires City Council affirmation. Therefore, I move to approve Mayor Ortega's appointment of Susan Galpin-Tyree to the Public Safety Personnel Retirement System Boards. Do I have a second from one of my colleagues?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing no discussion, Council, please record your votes. Well, I want to congratulate Ms. Galpin-Tyree for being appointed to the Public Safety Personnel Retirement Systems Board. And this will conclude our appointment process for the day. I would like to thank all our nominees for their interest in serving on a board or commission. We are fortunate to continue to receive qualified applicants for the positions on our boards and commissions. And that is part of the script, and we say that every time, but we truly have an abundance of wealth, talent, and knowledge in our community. All the council members agree on that. And it is truly remarkable how many applicants of such high caliber that we get for these unpaid volunteer boards and commissions. If you were not appointed today, your application will remain on file for consideration at a future date if there are additional vacancies. City staff will contact the individuals appointed this evening and provide them with information on next steps regarding their appointment. The City of Scottsdale is very fortunate to have such dedicated and talented individuals who are willing and ready to serve the city. And it's been my honor to lead this portion of today's meeting, and I humbly turn it back to the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And that concludes our business. Do I have a motion to adjourn our special meeting?
So move.
Second.
Thanks. Moved and second. Please record your vote. Ms. Durham. Thank you. We are adjourned, and we will begin our regular city council meeting. I believe we can move right into it. Are we okay? Thank you. At this point, I call the September 24th, 2024 City Council regular meeting to order. City Clerk Ben Lane, please conduct the roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor David Ortega.
Present.
Vice Mayor Barry Graham.
Present.
Council members Tammy Caputi.
Here.
Tom Durham.
Here.
Betty Janik.
Here.
Kathy Littlefield,
Here.
and Solange Whitehead.
Here.
City Manager Jim Thompson,
Here.
City Attorney Sherry Scott,
Here.
Acting City Auditor Layclough,
Here.
and the clerk is present. Thank you, Mayor.
Excellent. We have Scottsdale Police Sergeant Sean Ryan, as well as Detective Dustin Patrick, and firefighter Jake Jones, should anyone need assistance. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll call on Vice Mayor Graham.
Thank you, Mayor. Be my honor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, at this time, we draw attention to the ongoing wars in foreign countries as they fight to protect their democracy and freedom. Also, we keep in mind our own military service members who are here and deployed, so our thoughts and reflections are with them and their families. So I ask that you join together in a moment of silent reflection for these war-torn countries. Thank you. I also want to draw our attention that this month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And it certainly is a social, local, and very serious issue. It affects the city in so many ways. We have made appointments in social services and other areas. We're going to be discussing in our agenda police and fire responses and other things that are all intertwined. And certainly we want to be aware of domestic violence and countermeasures as we move together as a beautiful city. Tonight's meeting, the council may make a motion to recess into executive session to obtain legal advice on any applicable item on the agenda. If authorized by the council, the executive session would be held immediately and would not be open to the public. The public meeting would then resume after an executive session, again, if requested and voted on by the council. Also, per our council rules of procedure, citizens attending city council meetings shall observe the same rules of order and decorum applicable to ourselves and city staff. It also makes our meeting run much smoother. Additionally, the council recently updated our rules, which would be that we would avoid using electronic. We will not send any electronic communications while attending city council meetings or executive sessions. Only electronic devices supplied by the city and in use for our council agenda items of business are allowed. So we do store those aside. The next part of our agenda calls for public comment. Public comment, per state law, allows for Scottsdale citizens, businesses, or property owners to comment on any non-agendized item that would be within council's jurisdiction. I am told that there's no request for public comment. Therefore, I have opened public comment and I close public comment. Next, we have the consideration of the minutes. I request a motion to approve regular meeting and work study session minutes of August 21st, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Seeing no discussion, please record your vote. Thank you. We are unanimous. The next item on our agenda relates to consent agenda items. Consent agenda items have all accompanying staff reports, and they have vetted, and they're all available on our website, and the council will take formal action on consent agenda items 1 through 17. At this point, I do call for public comment. If there's any requests to speak, they would have filed with our clerk. Seeing none for consent agenda items 1 through 17, therefore I will close public comment on the consent agenda items. Next, I would go for any questions from council, or I am open to a motion to approve consent agenda items.
I move to approve consent agenda items number 1 through 17.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and we have a second. So seeing no further discussion, please record your vote. Thank you. We are unanimous. 7-0. Next, we will move on to item number 18. It is relating to Scottsdale Road, the Jomax Road and Dixilea Drive project. We have a construction bid, we have a grant acceptance, and we have some budget transfers to realize a project that has been in design for some time. We have our staff presenter with the transportation, Nathan Dome, who is the Transportation Planning Manager. So please proceed. Thanks for your preparation.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Ortega, City Council. Tonight I'm going to present on the construction bid and budget changes to the current CIP project SG05, Scottsdale Road from Jomax Road to Dixilea Drive. Staff is looking for approval on Resolution 13-18-8 to execute the construction bid award in the amount of $29.4 million to Hunter Contracting Company to construct the Scottsdale Road section. The acceptance of the federal grant award in the amount of $1.8 million from the Highway Safety Improvement Program grant funds for the roundabout at Scottsdale Road and Dynamite. The acceptance of federal funds in the amount of $29.3 million in surface transportation block grant program funds for the corridor improvements itself, and a fiscal year 24-25 budget appropriation transfer up to $8.9 million from available appropriation in the adopted 24-25 fiscal year capital improvement plan for that project to be funded by the Regional Arterial Life Cycle Program. Then a fiscal year 24-25 budget appropriation transfer and cash transfer of up to $4 million from the available budget appropriation in the adopted fiscal year 24-25 CIP budget for the project to be funded by the Transportation 0.1% local sales tax. And then additionally, a 25-26 budget appropriation transfer up to $1.7 million from the available budget appropriation in the future adopted fiscal year 25-26 CIP budget for the project to be funded by the 0.1% sales tax. On the slide is a map showing the project area. It covers a 2-mile stretch of the Scottsdale corridor between Jomax and Dixilea, including intersections at mostly Dynamite, Pinnacle View, and Pinnacle Vista Drive. The project was approved in the CIP for the fiscal year 2019-2020 and is a regional project adopted by MAG from the Regional Transportation Plan as part of the Arterial Life Cycle Program in 2004. The project will convert Scottsdale Road from its current configuration as a major collector to its ultimate configuration as a minor arterial complete street. This will improve safety and efficiency along the corridor. This project will also convert the intersection of Scottsdale Road and Dynamite Boulevard into a multi-lane roundabout. During the 5-year period before the project was budgeted out, the intersection experienced 1 fatal and 7 serious injury crashes associated with that intersection. The roundabout was determined back in 2017-2018 by our traffic engineering staff to be the most important configuration and an operational improvement at this intersection due to the roundabout's ability to reduce those serious and severe crashes related to intersections. As stated in the previous slide, during the construction, Scottsdale Road from Jomax to Dixletta is being reconfigured to its ultimate configuration as a minor arterial. You can see on the graphics on the screen the type of roadway changes that will be incorporated into the roadway. It will include raised medians along the middle, a new sidewalk along the western side, a new shared use path on the eastern side, new pavement along the entire stretch, new curbs and gutters on either side. That's all the surface changes. Along with the surface changes will be substantial improvements to drainage along the corridor. It'll prevent the road from being washed out during the monsoons. So throughout the entire corridor, culverts will be placed at all the low points to raise the road up and keep it from being impacted by those monsoons. There's also a left-in, left-out improvements made at the various intersections along the corridor. You can see it on the graphic right here as I showed the left-in, left-out. To prevent angled and left-turn crashes, which more often result in injuries and fatalities compared to other types of crashes. Last, there is a new right turn bay at Dixletta Drive going northbound to separate the right turning traffic from the through traffic and improve efficiency on the roadway. As part of the item tonight, there is a need to move more budget appropriation to accomplish the project. There is additional $14.5 million needed for this project. $8.9 million will come from a federal contribution of the MAG ALCP program. 5.6 would need to come from the transportation 1% local sales tax. This tax was passed just recently and was funded. Its funding is exclusive to provide the local match for ALCP projects. $4 million will be allocated from this fiscal year. 1.6 will be allocated the next fiscal year to provide the full 5.6. The total of the project, 31.1 million of the total project, is federally funded. The rest is from the 1% sales tax. The cost increases vary from different sources. 1.7 for a relocation of UPS utility lines. As we were in design, pretty substantially sized utility lines, electrical lines were found underneath. They were in direct conflict with the culverts. APS has prior rights in the area. We went through many months of negotiation with them. They originally estimated it at 3.7. Our CPM staff got them down to just the key areas, instead of undergrounding it further in the entire quarter, just the key areas where the culverts were, got them down to 1.7 million. Additionally, the construction, due to low bids as well as inflation on construction materials, is up to 8.2 million. 2.7 for right-of-way acquisition due to the culverts, as well as increased land values since 2019. We have $800,000 increase in construction inspection services to comply with the federal regulations of a federal project. Construction and administration costs increased $666,000 due to the increase to the construction costs. All of those costs go up to accommodate that. So CPM allocations, construction administration, as well as the salaries to our CPM staff. And so going back to adopting this resolution, and I'll open up for any questions you have for me.
Sure, let me just lead off. Would you say that this project is shovel-ready?
This project is at 100% design and shovel-ready. Yes, sir.
Great. So, that means that we have the responsive bidder. We've already filtered through several bidders. The design process has, of course, been completed. And, you summarized several areas, but essentially, well, excuse me, are there any, okay. So we also have an opportunity for the public to speak, and I open public comment, and I see there's no request to speak, so therefore I will close public comment. But just continuing with what, relating to what you've said so far, Basically, this project is a 2-mile stretch, and it resolves a lot of drainage problems. Right now, the Scottsdale Road has a lot of wrinkles in it, and that's little dips and dipsy-doos. And, I'm told that sometimes people catch air if they're speeding or may not have, be observing what's going on. It's also good, you can see mirages sometimes easier if there's, a hot road. But this seems to be, this is a very necessary cost improvement. Medians do save lives, and I see where we have some medians on Scottsdale Road. There are none really until we're putting some in. We see some really good results on Pima Road, just thinking through processing what the completed road could look like. I think we have some attractive, go the extra step to make sure that we get really good results on that. So I'm very much in favor of supporting this, and I'll move on to Councilwoman Janik and then Councilmember Durham.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, can you give me a rough idea why we only got 2 bids on this?
Sorry, I missed that.
Why did we only get 2 bids on this project? Just rough idea why you think that happened.
I can't speak to why it is we put those bids out. We really want as many as possible.
Sure.
I think our assumption is the contract companies are not hungry right now for projects. They have enough, and they didn't get enticed by that project. We definitely want to put out bids that will encourage the most number of companies to bid towards us. So we keep evaluating to see how we can get as many as we can. That'll lower the price, and that's what we really want.
Sure. Have we worked with Hunter Contracting before?
We have.
Okay, and you've been happy with their work?
They have completed the work satisfactory. And
have they given us massive price increases over the course of construction, or have they been pretty good, pretty accurate with their bids?
They've been pretty good, pretty accurate with their bids. We haven't had any massive changes to what was originally bid out.
I thought when I read through all this information that some of these numbers were generated 6 months ago. And what I would like to know is, when I look at this list, the cost increase breakdown, when were these numbers generated? I believe you said that the land, that number was generated in 2019. Is that accurate?
Are you talking about the original CIP budget?
I guess that's what we're talking about, yeah.
Sorry. Yes, the original ones were so in some areas, yes, in some areas, no. Throughout the course of the CIP, we've had 2 increases to this project, so I'd have to go back and look at I would imagine that the land right acquisitions is original to the 2019 CIP, but through the course of the last 6 CIPs, we have increased the project twice.
Okay, all right. I have to tell you, when I look at the cost increase breakdown, which I think I got because I asked the question, I really have problems with some of the cost increases. Admin, CPM allocation, greater than 100% increase. How do we justify that? I am not comfortable with that. I want more information on that. And because of that, I think we need to reduce some of these numbers that we are saying it's okay, because on the last 2 items, the transportation tax, you say that the number is up to. Well, what bothers me is when you say a number allowed finance is up to, everybody seems to manage to get to that high number. And that bothers me. That's not how I run my house. This is our tax dollars. And I think that number is way out of line, and I want justification on it. And I would request, as part of this, if we approve it, that we get regular updates on that number, and they be justified. I'm very much not comfortable with it. Salaries, was that number from 2019 or from 6 months ago? And why wasn't it updated to 6 months ago? I understand land, I get that. But salaries, 28% higher. Yeah, we gave raises, that was great. 28%'s a lot. So I'm having a lot of problems justifying all these numbers. And I don't think I'm comfortable voting for this until I see better acknowledgement of where these numbers came from. The other problem I'm having is it's not like we haven't had problems in the past with planning. And I don't want any of those to be repeated, and I want everything to be justified. I want it to be neat and tight going into something that's shovel-ready. And again, I'm having major problems with this being justified. Now, I know there's another issue that's going to come up, and it's got to do with the roundabout on Dynamite in Scottsdale. I know there's quite a bit of opposition from the people that live there. They think it's going to be a horrendous traffic jam. But what I want to say in defense of what the city has done on that item is that mortality rates are lower with roundabouts. And I cannot argue with the lower mortality rate. So I think that is really a good decision to do the roundabout. I'm guessing it's more expensive than standard lights. And the reason that there's fewer mortalities is because people have to go slower. And I think it's about time that the city and all of our residents realizes that we speed way too much. So as a result of that, we have to adjust how we proceed, and that would be with the roundabout. So thank you. I appreciate your answers.
Thank you.
Councilman Durham, Vice Mayor Graham, and then Councilwoman Whitehead.
Thank you, Mayor. Speaking of the roundabout, I believe there was a 4-car accident that was at Scottsdale and Dynamite earlier today?
There
or
was,
yesterday?
yes. Last night, yes.
Last night, okay. And what can you tell us about that accident? Was it speeding?
We reached out to get the police report. We haven't gotten that yet, so we're investigating it right now to see what happened there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor Graham, Councilwoman Whitehead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
This is, what's the current classification for Scottsdale Road at this point? Because is this moving it to a minor arterial, or is it already one?
It's currently classified as a minor arterial here.
Okay, so we're not changing classification, right?
We're not. It's
Okay.
just trying to configure it to what it is currently classified as.
Can you pull up a map of the intersection?
You're looking for the roundabout?
If you have it. Do you have it?
I think it should be there.
I don't know where it went. Oh, this one?
You can do the Elmo. Do these scope changes, are we, well, let me back up real quick. When was this project first budgeted?
2019-2020 was a temporary project in the CIP.
When did you know that costs were going to increase so much?
We've known twice through the CIP process, and then through the course of the last year, we started having negotiations with APS as well as other engineering estimates to show that it was going to get to about this price. So the last time we had a full evaluation was about April of this year, and we missed the budget cycle.
So did you choose to tell the council and ask for the budget change because of the timing of when the awards were granted? How does the timing, how does it get decided when we learn about this?
Sorry, Vice Mayor Graham, are you talking about the federal awards? The federal grant awards? Or?
So the project was 29.2 at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's 43.7 million. It's 50% increase.
Yeah.
I asked you when you knew the budget would be sharply increasing. And I'm asking, why are you asking us today, as opposed to years when you knew a year or two ago?
We asked for multiple increases. We got to 29 million the fiscal year of 23-24, and through the course of last year, we have seen continual rises to the cost of this project.
So 29.2, is that a revised budget?
That was revised in 23-24.
What's the original budget from 2019?
I have it here. The original budget was 13.9 million.
Doing some math. Hold on, please. 215% increase. It just keeps going up. It just keeps going up. Land, 5,000% increase. Show us on a map, why does the land cost 5,000% more?
The land was budgeted to stay as much in the right-of-way as possible as we put culverts in.
But like, point on the map, Nathan, Nate, like why it was 50,000, now it's 5,000% higher. Like what increased about the land?
I don't have the right-of-way acquisition map with me, but it was land values as well as drainage. So when it was first budgeted, the goal was to keep within the right-of-way. As we looked to elevate the road, we had to have the culverts bounce out, and it increased not just the land it increased the amount of land we were acquiring when we first estimated it.
So this budget increase right here, which isn't even the first increase, you're taking $5.6 million more from the 0.1% transportation and sales tax. What do we give up? Like, what projects are we delaying or never going to get?
We're not, this transportation, the 1% is exclusively for ALCP projects, so this was.
But there were other ALCP projects. We have a full budget. We have exactly what we're going to spend on that. What are we giving up? What are we delaying?
We haven't delayed any projects yet because of this.
So the money was just sitting around unspent? Just, we thought there might be contingencies?
We have 4 projects in the ALCP left to do. We're trying to accomplish this project.
But those are going to be delayed. How does this project, the whole western part of this is not Scottsdale, but it's going to be totally developed, right?
The whole part of this area is Scottsdale. Both sides are Scottsdale from.
But I mean, like going beyond. I'm not talking about just the road. I'm saying beyond to the west.
No, the west side is
Phoenix.
Is Scottsdale.
How far?
Pretty far, to 56, I think.
Yeah.
And is it all going to be developed?
It's already developed.
Okay. Oh, I'm more south though. And does this budget increase include? Are you adding medians that weren't there before?
Yes.
Because the mayor mentioned that medians save lives, which I agree with that statement. Why did we not think about medians? We knew medians save lives in 2019. Why did we not think of it then?
We did. It was a part of the project in 2019.
But I just asked you, does this budget increase add medians?
It adds an increase to the overall project. The scope didn't change from 2019. The budget has been changing.
Does this project increase include additional medians that weren't there before the budget increase?
No. All the medians were there prior to this.
So the just cost went up, but we're getting the same thing?
The cost went up.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Councilwoman Whitehead, and then myself.
First of all, Nathan, thank you for being on the podium. You're not pocketing any extra money, so I know this isn't, your fault, but these are pretty extreme cost increases. And the 2 council members did ask some of my questions, but I want to make sure I get this straight. And I saw Mr. Worth around somewhere. I don't know if he wants to be next to a microphone and jump in as necessary. So one of my big questions was the land, and if I understand you correctly, Nathan, the scope, in that case, the scope did change because of the design, so we have to purchase land that was not in the original design. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, I would say that because we wanted to make every crossing a dry crossing, the culverts wind out, we had more land acquisition than is needed, than wasn't originally thought to be needed.
And excuse me, I see Dan Worth is also available. Did you want to add any comments here?
Yes, Mayor, council members, Councilwoman Whitehead, the drainage example, when we scoped this project originally, we anticipated being able to, I think there's like at least 4 places where water flows over the road now. We want it under the road. So we intended to put these drainage crossings in under the road, culverts, but without getting into a lot of boring engineering hydrology kind of stuff. You've got to have the culvert at a certain elevation in order to make it work properly without creating excess erosion and all kinds of other issues. And as we get into design, we find out how long those culverts got to be in order to do that, where they got to start, where they got to end. And we had to extend them out of the right-of-way. We had to buy some private property to do that.
Okay, so I do want to kind of emphasize that, having been in this world a little bit myself, is that when you make a project estimate and then you get into the design, the scope, because that, just to answer Councilwoman Janik's question, the scope, it's not that the scope changed, but the design tells you, you know, that the map and the ground may disagree and the ground is right. So actually, it's not the same thing that you're quoting in 2019 that we're getting today. And that's why there's that huge increase in cost. I just want to understand that. We still want to get this done. The APS, I just struggled with the APS utility, why that's our cost. I was trying to understand that.
They have prior rights in that corridor, so that means if there's a conflict between our design and where they are, it's on us to relocate it to where it's at. We have similar negotiations with SRP and APS where we do have prior rights, and it's on their bill to relocate whatever they have. So it really is when the conflict comes up at a certain point, people start looking back at what the agreements were, who was there first, and who has prior rights in that area. APS along the entire northern section has prior rights for us.
Okay, so it's not a $1.7 million increase. It's just as you got into the design.
That would be a scope change, yes. We saw those wires and we had to lower them.
Yeah, okay, so you can't necessarily anticipate that when you're drawing up the plans. Okay, so no way around that. Can't get APS. We were going to get charged for that one way or another. If APS paid for it, we'd still get that bill one way or another. But okay, there was another one. Well, I think salaries just keep going up. Let's see if there was another question. And I also, because Mr. Graham brought up the issue of, are we bumping any other projects? And you said you don't see, I mean, we're not going to change any of the projects. Mr. Worth, you want to say anything about that?
Mayor, Councilwoman Whitehead, the additional funding from MAG, they agreed to provide that funding without taking it away from any other projects, which is great. We get additional money without having to sacrifice anywhere else. The additional city money comes from the 0.1% sales tax, which is specifically approved by voters to provide the local match for these ALCP projects. And we have it within the balance of that fund to be able to provide the additional $5 million in change for this.
And it's my understanding that if we don't use these MAG dollars, another city will.
That is likely why we're able to get this money without having to take it away from another project, because other cities are struggling to be able to get all of their projects done.
And I just want to add that these dollars are our dollars, that we hadn't had the matching funds to get back into our city until the 2017 tax was passed. So, yeah, so I definitely, and I think that's an important point as well, is that 2 points I want to make. That when you sketch something, like when you sketch your new kitchen on a napkin and you're real excited and you're drinking wine, that design and that estimated cost and the reality usually don't quite match. This is a big and complicated project, and especially whenever we involve drainage and start involving, you know, we have to have drainage that actually works. So, you know, and in this case, our tax dollars through the federal government, our tax dollars through this regional tax are coming back to make this happen. So I do support it, and I appreciate just better understanding how we got from the estimate, the kind of design to our today's costs. Thank you.
Okay, Councilwoman Caputi, then myself, and Councilman Durham.
Oh, just a couple of comments. First of all, I'm super excited about this project. We hear a lot about complaints about our roadways. Here we are doing amazing things with our roadways. We're adding to our roadways. We have a transportation action plan. It's actually called an Transportation Action Plan because it moves and changes and flexes and adjusts as real life changes, and so this is a perfect example. I think that the goal of our Transportation Action Plan is always efficiency and safety, and that's what we're doing here. We are constructing a 4-lane arterial complete street, raised landscape medians, and general traffic improvements to increase capacity and safety along the corridor and at 10 intersections. As my colleagues have said, this is a really big project, and there's a lot of dollars here. We've mentioned this so many times from the dais. 2019 was a completely different world. I work in construction, and Councilman Graham is amazed that costs have gone up that much. I'm here to tell you that they have gone up that much. That is our world. Everything has gone up and still going up. In fact, I'm hearing in the industry right now that concrete and steel are back up to massive increases, and it's my guess that costs are not going down anytime soon. You couldn't even get more than 2 general contractors to bid on this project because people are scared to do projects this size right now. The costs are continually increasing. It's very hard to find labor. And again, we found a good company that was willing to do this. I can't emphasize enough the safety aspect of this. Full disclosure, I live at Scottsdale and Jomax. And this road is one that floods continually. So having the water go underneath the road instead of continually, interfering with our traffic is a fantastic thing that I'm very excited about. So again, a rotary to increase safety. We're building capacity, adding to our roadways, bulking up our roads. This is what people want to see, continually increasing our network, improving our efficiency, increasing our safety. I'm hugely in support. And again, we are putting in 30% of our dollars and getting back a 70 match, which is how this program was designed. I can't think of a better return on investment myself. I certainly would love to have an investment like that personally. So again, I'm in support, and let's keep moving forward.
Okay, well, at this point, I will start out with making a motion to adopt resolution number 13188 with the 7 points. I will, and if I can get a second.
Second.
That will continue. Okay, so tonight, I'm not here to do forensics on what 2019 was like, or I'm not here to point fingers about whether or not there was a pandemic and whether or not there's a supply chain problem. We have a shovel-ready project. What that means is that to get to this point, to actually have a contract in our hand, it has been reviewed with not just staff, but competitive bidding. We are bidding against other cities trying to build 4 miles of highway or 4 miles. As you know, ADOT's taken a lot of the subcontractor work off the shelf because off the market because they have such tremendous projects going. They're also taking big loads of asphalt and so forth. So this project has been vetted by the Transportation Department. It's gone through our commissions, and we are at a point where, again, if we try to say how badly underestimated it was, or which council was in charge at that time, or how this got to be so outlandish, it's not the position that I want to look backward. I want to look forward because, as I said, there was another perhaps fatality, a serious 5-car accident, and the whole purpose of our transportation system is to have safety. At one point, this was a paper project, totally paper project, and I'm told that it started at $13 million, and right now, just the subsidy coming from the feds is $20 million, right? Okay, so perhaps at that time they thought they'd get 5, I don't know. But however it evolved, the numbers have all been really vetted and tested. The other fact is that we have a lot of drainage problems along Scottsdale. There are parts of Scottsdale Road that are totally, well, this is an area where we have Scottsdale, the city of Scottsdale, on both sides of the road. If you go south of here, it's just city of Phoenix, and they're just bare land on that side. So we have an obligation for the east side and the west side to resolve the drainage problems basically within the city of Scottsdale. Speaking as an architect, you know, as you conceptualize something and then later you start to see that every crossing with APS undergrounding electrical, every future consideration where they may want to upgrade and carry something forward is considered because we want to dig at once. We don't want to say, oh, and there's something else that's going to be coming along the line. This project will reduce maintenance because of the overflow we get with the heavy rains 4 or 5 times, 4 or 5 areas, and people will call us and say, why is the gravel hitting my windshield right after this? And, you know, certain debris is coming across the road. So this is in our domain, and it is market-driven. We're looking at an actual shovel-ready, basically contracts ready to sign and move forward. And by the way, all contracts usually say this bid is good for 60 days. So if we want to look at one particular part of any of these line items, there's usually about 27 sub areas or divisions, then we're going to be, you know, here very late, and it is going to be a very tedious process. So we rely on our team, and in this case, the design team has made all these considerations. The right-of-way can get crazy. I'm agreeing with Vice Mayor, you know, but it's also a question of, you know, people with private property rights maybe pushing and tugging and pulling to get the maximum right-of-way possible. We can't start a project unless we have the right-of-way to build it. So for those reasons, I am, the bottom line is our money is worth less, okay? It's called inflation. The Fed will tell you, and the federal government put $4.2 trillion just to get us through the pandemic. That caused an erosion of our dollar value that has never been seen before in this country. With that, I see Councilmember Durham wants to speak. I maybe was long-winded, but I do support the safety element, reduced maintenance. I have no problem with the roundabout. We have a roundabout on each side of Costco. It doesn't stop anyone from getting to Costco. It's certainly going to be one way to prevent people from racing to a green light when they're a quarter mile away. So I'm agreeing that we can save lives and move this project forward. Councilmember Durham, Councilwoman Janik, and then Vice Mayor Graham. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick word on the drainage. Like Councilmember Caputi, I live in this part of town, and there were periods after rains when Pima was not drivable. You know, large pools of water, the gravel crossing the road, as the mayor recollects. But it was very hard to traverse Pima. And the work that was done on Pima has solved that problem. And I understand why it's so expensive to buy the additional land that's necessary for those culverts. There's been a huge expanse of land on Pima that was necessary for those drainage issues and culverts. So that piece is perfectly explainable to me, and was a huge improvement on Pima, and I'm sure it'll be a huge improvement on Scottsdale too.
Thank you. Councilwoman Janik, Vice Mayor Graham.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question on the original CIP budget numbers. Is that a mixture of 2019 and 2024? Have you been consistent in those reports, or did you take some from 24 April and some from 2019?
Mayor, Councilman Janik, those original numbers are not actually original numbers. Those are the numbers that exist today, as approved in the 24-25 CIP.
Okay, so that's kind of mislabeled. Yes.
That is.
Sounds like it. Okay.
It is, yes.
Okay, no offense, I don't like that. Okay? As a scientist, we don't do that. Okay? I would like to make a counter motion, and my counter motion would be to adopt resolution number 13188 with the provision that we get quarterly updates on the cash flow.
Okay, now I'm just going to consider that as an amendment.
Okay.
It's not a counter motion.
That's
It's
fine.
accepting the resolution, but requesting formally for us to get reports. And is that clear to the engineering crew as far as what that means?
Mayor, absolutely.
Thank you.
And I'll second that.
So we have an amendment to our main motion. We have a second. And at this point, I see no other discussion, so I would ask for us to vote on the amendment.
Oh, Mayor.
Oh, did you have a comment on the amendment?
Oh, sorry. Well,
We have an amendment on.
Sorry.
Yeah, we can have one. So at this point, we have an amendment to vote on, which would say that if Attorney Scott would repeat it, it's just requesting monitoring of the cost. And I think I heard quarterly. Excuse me. We have a main motion, and we have an amendment to it. So that's why the
point of order, do you have to vote to amend a motion? I thought you just accepted the amendment verbally.
No, we have to vote on an amendment.
Is that correct?
Yes, yes. We have an amendment to something that is, we have a main motion, and if someone wanted to say, except on Tuesdays, that would be that would be an amendment, and we'd have to vote on that amendment. So,
City Attorney just raised her hand.
go ahead.
Mayor, if it's a friendly amendment, there's no need to vote, but I would ask the person who seconded the original motion to agree with the friendly amendment. I thought that
I don't even think we need a friendly amendment. Let's just keep it very simple. If somebody else wants to make an amendment to the main motion after this one's taken care of, then they can make an amendment to the main motion. So excuse me? Well, okay, if you want to call it a friendly amendment, I believe she moved to, it should be an amendment. An amendment is a change to what's already been posted to the public. That's why I suggested it be an amendment. We have amendment, we have a second. So we do not need a point of order on the subject because we can have one vote at a time. So we have an amendment, we have a second. We're still going to continue a main motion, but it would be amended if this amendment is accepted. So at this point, I'm asking that we vote on the amendment as requested and seconded. Please record your vote. Okay, so we have accepted the amendment that said there will be a quarterly and reporting on the expenses as requested. We will now continue with discussion of the main motion, and I believe you go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be very brief. I'm going to vote no on this motion tonight, and I'm going to explain that very briefly, and then I will conclude my remarks. We hire professionals, trained professionals to budget, to set budgets. We all know circumstances have changed drastically. We all know about unprecedented changes. But we also knew about the medians. The fact that it floods there, that's not new information. We've known that forever. And so it's a 215% increase. And I also want to agree with Councilmember Janik. Please don't call an original budget, amended budget, an original budget. These are public documents that members of the public read and rely on. So I'll please remind the staff of that, the importance of attention to detail. If I thought that I had the votes, I would move to delay this for more discussion and we can get to the bottom of it as far as getting answers for residents. The ALCP, I was on Transportation Commission when we did that program. We know every dollar that we have all these projects. We have more projects for that than we can do. And so there will be trade-offs for that as a reminder. And on top of that, this roundabout is not, there's not consensus on a roundabout on Scottsdale Road. In fact, I would argue it's very controversial. So those are my concluding remarks on why I'm going to vote no. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I have the city manager wishing to speak. Go ahead.
No, I didn't ask for comment. Thank you.
But I'm allowing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let's hear what you have to say.
I apologize. I pressed a while ago to try to respond to some of the questions pending out there, so I appreciate it. And I've had this up for a bit, just I want to walk through it. I know it doesn't give clarity to some of the concerns out there, but the biggest issue I think was alluded to, maybe not covered enough, that I understand was the drainage add-on. The drainage originally was anticipated to be very short, be able to catch up the area. So the largest increase is not that property values gone up from 54,000 to 2.2. It's just that we had to acquire so much more property for the drainage to pick up the outflows. Was that originally designed? No, because we don't do design. We do an engineering estimate, and then we come back, and when we design it, this came forward. Part of the budget problem we ran into is our budget estimates did not have it designed yet. When it was finally designed July, they came back and said you need to pick up a whole bunch of additional land to be able to do those crossings. If you don't wish to do the crossings and still have the dips, you certainly can do that, but then you have the flooding and other things associated with it. But we can give you the exact numbers on that and come back and share those as part of the quarterly updates so you're aware of what those are. You're going to see a large number in that, and there's a lot of dirt moving. And then you have to compact soils. You have to make sure that the water flows are going to go to it. There's a whole bunch involved that increase that. The other one that was not anticipated, and we accept that, was the APS utilities. That's 1.7. When you back out the change in the actual design because of the flood potentials in those areas, and you take out APS that wasn't anticipated, then that percentage drops dramatically. On the money above, in particular the federal money, originally we were allocated $20.4 million for this project. The additional one does not, the federal money or the ALP money does not come away from our current allotment that we have, that we did the 0.1 sales tax increase to match. This is additional money that they brought out of the pot of money that's available out there and gave it to us for the additional amount. So it doesn't take away from our other projects approved. Our other projects approved may have that. The other portion of it, yes, there was only 2 bidders. We were hopeful that we would have more. Appreciate the mayor's comments as well, like we ran into in a few projects in the past on concrete, in particular one in downtown here that used up a lot when we were trying to do Civic Center Plaza. We had to order concrete out months in advance. We're running a little bit on the asphalt associated with same because the state has the 101 and a bunch of other major roadways torn up right now. So I suspect the contractors took that in consideration as well to make sure they deliver on time. So again, it was a bid project, and you're always subject to whatever the market bears for those prices. We did have 2 bidders, and this was the low bidder. I know that doesn't change your questions. We'll come back at the quarterly report, if approved this evening, and provide the specifics associated with what was originally anticipated with drainage versus what it is today and so forth. But I think that's going to address a good portion of that change is in those areas. So thank you.
You know, I've been looking at bids and amounts for decades, but as weird as it sounds, okay, infrastructure pays sales tax. And that sales tax goes to the state as well as to the city. Now, I've never had when I have private sector clients, they pay sales tax, and that's all. Well, in this case, we're the we're paying the bills, but we're also collecting a sales tax. You know, it goes round and around in that we are part of the regional transportation system. I pointed out that when Phoenix has raw land on the west, we can pretty much let a culvert out. Once it leaves Scottsdale, according to Arizona law, the water's going to drain back into that arroyo. But when we have Scottsdale homeowners on both sides of that road, it becomes a full liability for us, and we're going to do what's right. With that, I see no further need for discussion. Please record your vote. And the vote is on the main motion as with the amendment as approved. So, and at this point, the motion carries with 5 to 2 opposing. That was Ms. Littlefield and Mr. Graham. With that, we are concluded with item on our regular agenda, item number 18. Next, we move to public comment, a second opportunity for public to come forward. I'm told there is no request for public comment, therefore I will close public comment. Item 19 is posted as acceptance of any petition, and seeing none, we have no action on that item. Therefore, we are concluded with the posted agenda items, and I would request a motion and a second to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. We have motion and a second. Please record your vote. Unanimous, we are adjourned. Thank you. Enjoy the evening.